now, Enugu State Security Trust Fund has received donations exceeding 3 billion naira from individuals and corporate organizations during a fundraising dinner at the Old Government Lodge in Enugu. Dr. Chioke, Board of Trustee, Chairman of the Fund and Group Managing Director of AfriInvest West Africa Limited, praised the Peter Amba administration's security investment, including the establishment of the ESSTF Board of Trustees last year. Chioke emphasized that achieving the state's 30 billion naira GDP target would depend on maintaining security through contributions from citizens, businesses, and government bodies. Governor Amba reflected on the state's security transformation over the past 20 months, reporting significant improvement from the initial challenges his administration faced. He noted that the previous security threats have been largely neutralized with enhanced control of public spaces across the state. The governor, however, cautioned against complacency despite the security gains. Now, for a conversation on the idea behind the formation of the organization, targets, and expected challenges in Enugu State's Security Trust Fund, we have with us the Chairman, Board of Trustees of the Trust Fund, Dr. Chioke. Well, good afternoon and welcome to Newsday.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, so let's get back to the beginning. And first of all, congratulations to Enugu State for kickstarting this. But let's get back to the beginning. When you look at the trust fund, the Security Trust Fund for Enugu State, what was the intention behind setting up that particular trust fund?
Okay. Well, you have to think back at least almost 2 years. Dr. Mba came in as governor of the state on the 29th of May 2023. And at that period in 2023, we had this sit-at-home crisis, which has effectively paralyzed the economy of the state, not just in Enugu State, but indeed much of southeastern states, so that every Monday, students, teachers, market women, motor parks, banks, all sorts of businesses were shut. And there was nothing more debilitating to the economy of the state than finding that on Monday, nobody went anywhere. It was like a ghost town. And that is the welcome Governor got when he started. Now, fast forward to today, and you can see if you go to Enugu, there's commercial activity all over the place. And that means he has regained control of the state from the criminal element who had actually used the whole issues of insecurity to take control and put government as a second seat. Because indeed, the primary aim of government is the security of life and property.
True.
Now, the issue of building a security trust fund is more to get the citizens and everyone in Enugu State, including people who are outside of Enugu State, involved in the issue of security. Because when you're pushing forward on a massive developmental drive, the governor has articulated a vision of moving the economy from a GDP of $4.4 billion to at least $30 billion by the time he leaves office, assuming 2 terms. It's akin to putting a lot of investment in infrastructure in social education, social capital, education, healthcare, all that is coming. You must actually accompany those investments with security. Because if not, as you're making those investments, people are breaking them, people are vandalizing them, people are stealing them in front of you. So development goes hand in hand with security, and is not something government alone can do. So looking at the model of the Security Trust Fund, we looked at the templates that already exist in the country. But we then said we must play to our own strengths. We can't just copy what other states have done because they come from a different circumstance. In the case of Enugu, we recognize that our people are keen to move forward and push and support the governor who's progressive. In that sense, the trust fund then designed itself as a public-private partnership, an engagement between government on the one hand and the people on the other, and let all of us collaborate to work together to secure the state for progress.
Well said. It's good to know it's a public-private partnership, and I also like how you mentioned that you looked at all the other models.
Correct.
And tried to make it work for Enugu's context. So how do you plan to ensure transparency in fund management, given what we've seen happen in the past?
Okay, so in our situation, we have an independent trustee that actually receives the funds. We have accounts at some of the top banks, Zenith, UBA, Fidelity, Access, the like. But the money doesn't go into the government account. It goes actually to the account of an independent trustee. So every single payment that is contributed, whether it's 1,000 naira or 100 million, goes into the same account. And that account is auditable. And we're actually discussing with one of the top audit firms. I've spoken to the managing partner, and I will be confirming the audit firm in the next few weeks, who's agreed to be the auditor of the trust fund. So that is there. In addition, any disbursement from the trust contribution account is discussed at the board level, at the board of trustees level, and the board of trustees has within its own space, its own sort of membership, people who are in the technical services area. We call it technical committee, but they're actually all the security personnel. For example, we have the head of DSS as a member of the board of trustees, the commandant of the 82 division, the military position is there. We have a retired police officer is there, actually two. There's one who's from Enugu, there's another one from Imo State, Edward Ebuka. We have Major General Nuhu Ambazo, retired from the, I think, Central Command in Abuja from Niger State. He's also a member of the Board of Trustees. So we have people themselves who have the expertise in managing security issues. Of course, we'll have our perspective, but ultimately, the Chief Security Officer of the state remains the governor, and he has, from his own vantage point, the issues and challenges that bedevil the state and what the priorities should be. So any funds we raise, we will then use it to support the objectives of the state in making sure the state is much more secure, and particularly moving towards an area where we're preventing crime from happening rather than doing the fire brigade attack approach and trying to fight them, after it has happened.
All right, two questions. I would have expected more policemen to be part of that particular committee you spoke about, because the Nigerian police is directly involved, is directly responsible for security within the borders of Nigeria. That's just one. I want you to answer to that. And secondly, we've spoken about investment. Let's talk about divestment and disbursement of some of these funds. Where would they be going to? And is priority being put on the welfare of police officers? Because they will be the lifeblood of whatever activities you're carrying out. So what will be the low-hanging fruits that the trustees and the board will be focusing on as a way to start off and talk to us about the remuneration of police officers?
Okay, thank you. Now, in terms of the membership of the Board of Trustees and having more policemen at the level, obviously that is a determination from His Excellency Governor Peter Mba in terms of the choices he made. But bear in mind that within the context of security, the biggest issues are actually information gathering and intelligence actually composes about 70% of the effort. So what the investment has been utilized for mostly in Enugu State has been in technological gadgets. So we have, for example, CCTV cameras across most of the major locations of the state. Pretty much every local government of the state now is covered under a CCTV camera system, and most of the major roads. And in Enugu Metropolis, just as in Nsukka and Oji River and 9th Mile, we've got cameras at critical junctions, at motor parks, at markets. So we can actually see problems happening as they're coming up real time. And then we have a fleet of distress rapid DRS cars, distress response squad, that can immediately go to where the flashlights or problems are occurring, and working with the police force can quickly deal with the matter. So yes, it's important to have policemen, but I think that we also recognize that we don't have enough boots on ground, even from the Nigerian police itself. So the board is not like an active agency trying to deal with every call. That actually goes more to the command and control center, which is now working at the government house. And from there, they can then work with the different security personnel to resolve the issues as they happen. Our investment would really go more towards the non-kinetic aspect of security rather than the kinetic in terms of buying arms. So non-kinetic would include, like you mentioned, the welfare of the police officers. But we can't do anything about their salaries. But we can do things like making sure that they have medical insurance if they are injured, or if worse happens, maybe putting a death insurance cover for them. So any officers that are injured or killed in the line of duty within the Enugu state get something. So those are some of the ideas we have. Our vigilante system, looking at the organization, looking at the membership, making sure that people who join vigilante forces are decent people with integrity, and they are not going to turn around and use the training and the equipment they get to commit crime. And obviously being able to police them, organize them efficiently, and make sure they are remunerated. In some cases, we've got good people working who don't get paid. On the other hand, we have bad people in the system who we should route out. So that organization, making sure it ties down with the president generals of the different communities and towns, as well as the royal fathers, who are also the traditional heads of each of those communities. There's enough to do in terms of synergizing those relationships so there's no conflict, but there's effective collaboration, and we can get information to the center whenever there's a crisis.
And I really appreciate what your the intentionality going behind the synergy, use of innovation, and non-kinetic approach. But I'd like for you to touch on the metrics that you use to measure the fund's effectiveness. How often do you plan to do that in terms of timelines, and what are you looking at specifically? Okay,
we've set out to raise 20 billion naira for this year. We're privileged that at the launch, we thought we might even get maybe 5 or 10%, and we got to 3 billion naira in terms of commitments at the launch. That was a very good progress. We intend to do launch across additional dinner events, maybe in Abuja, in Lagos for sure, to reach more of our brothers and sisters who obviously, for different reasons, could not make it to the Enugu event. We also had a call, for example, last night with the Enugu Diaspora Organization, and I'll probably do some launches in the course of the year. Maybe we'll do it virtually initially. But if there's any particular event they're holding, maybe in Houston, as they typically do, or in South Africa, or in London, we might find a way to organize someone to be physically there to talk to them and reach out to all our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. So the launching will continue. What we see is that if we're able to build a sizable war chest, it's, even the investment income from the funds then becomes useful. In today's money market environment, if you have 20 billion naira, you can easily earn 20-25% per annum on that kind of money. That is already giving you about 4 to 5 billion naira. So you can actually have your capital remain intact while you're still earning money to be using to do other things. But there are many urgent needs today. So I dare say that as we're receiving money, we would obviously find a need to deploy immediately to solve the immediate problems, to get to the point where we have stable environment. Because the target is really development. As we push in for more development, the states get more secure because there's more people coming around and there's more of a 24/7 economy. And then the young people who are usually the problem element are more engaged. If people are not employed, are doing something useful, they're going to turn to other things to keep them occupied and want to keep them busy and keep them away from crime. So that's really the focus.
All right, I want to say many thanks to you, Dr. Ike Chioke.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Chairman, Board of Trustee, Enugu State Security Trust Fund. Thank you for joining us here on News.
Thank you. Next time I'll come with 2 hats, but I only have one. So can I present you this one?
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Yeah.